Tapi is a maintenance platform. So what that does is it looks after when an issue is reported all the way through to when the invoice is completed. So it involves all the different stakeholders in the process. So your suppliers, they can schedule the job and let the tenant know when they're coming, or owner can approve a quote that a supplier has uploaded. And we look after that end-to-end workflow, as well as touching some of the other parts, such as compliance or services or assets within the property. But it's all about overall taking care of the property and looking what's best for the care of the home. Well, when we first started Tapi, we did a lot of invoice processing, and we found out that one of the biggest pain points for our customers was the amount of time they were taking doing data entry, and the whole value out of Tapi is just is efficiency gains. And so if they're still doing that data entry, you're not really saving them much time. So just to get something into market very quickly, we decided to kind of go for more of an outsourced model where we had people overseas processing those invoices for us. And that was fine when it was only a handful of customers. But as we continue to scale from 30 agencies up to 100 agencies, now 200 agencies, it was causing a lot of delays, and it also wasn't very scalable. It was costing us more and more and more. So we decided to look at for more of a scalable solution, so more of an OCR, so we could extract out the invoices for. And the reason we went to NanoNet specifically was, one, the user experience was really good, the permission management was also really good, but also we were able to take a model that already existed, so we weren't starting from scratch, and then making those small tweaks that we needed, such as what we call work order numbers, and those are key numbers that relate to a job. And so we were able to add things like that. In the future, I'm sure there will be more, but it kind of just gave us that flexibility that we were looking for, and super easy to implement as well. So initially, we started off looking for kind of a image recognition, image classifier first. And when we ran some tests on NanoNets and a few other platforms, and we just felt like NanoNets was the most user-friendly to someone who wasn't necessarily a data scientist or come from a data background. That's not to say that we didn't know what we were doing, but it's more so when you're trying to get people from outside the product team and engineering team to be involved, and they're looking at kind of lines of code or something like AWS, which just really isn't super user-friendly. NanoNets actually just explains it a lot easier, and I think you could pick that up pretty quickly. In fact, we've actually got a student at the moment who's doing some training for us, and we can literally give them a login and say, here you go, train up the model a little bit more, and they just pick it up super quickly. So that was definitely one of the reasons. Things like the retraining and adding of labels, again, super easy, and we can kind of do it at any time without having to go away, collect heaps more training data, come back into the model. It's a lot very easy for us to do that. And then also just the ease of implementation, like the amount of documentation on how to implement it was super easy for the devs. The devs required very little handholding or anything like that. It was literally, here's the document, here you go. And I think we had it live within like a week or a week and a half, including testing and stuff. So it was super fast to implement. And from what I understand, it's super easy as well on their parts too. We were spending about $10,000 a month on our previous method, and that was scaling, I think, like 10% month on month. So, I think June last year it was $5,000, then July we were looking at like 7, and we got all the way up to about 10 or 11,000 a month that we were paying, and it was extremely hard to manage, and no one really knew how much it was costing. It wasn't until one day we looked at the invoice and we were like, man, that's a lot of money that we're spending on outsourcing our invoices. So as a result, we looked at NanoNet, and I think we're paying about 3 cents a page, 4 cents a page, which equates to about $3,000 a month. So we're saving $7,000 a month, and that rate of scale, because we are having to grow our NanoNet subscription at the same time, but because we're paying an extra 1 cent an invoice rather than 10%, because we have to hire someone else to process them. It's been absolutely huge gains. I mean, I know the exact number. I've got it saved somewhere about how much we've saved, but it's yeah, huge, absolutely huge savings, and just easier to manage as well. Like we had an operations manager who was spending maybe a quarter of her week, maybe sometimes, managing these people, and now her time has been freed up to focus on more important things. And then NanoNet kind of just manages itself with the odd, check in and manage the billing, but other than that, it looks after itself really.